Are you using quarantine and hospital tanks? When you have several tanks like I do with large fish that sometimes can get sick, or you're getting fish shipped to you, it's real important for me to observe those fish in a quarantine tank prior to adding them to a main tank. The only times I don't do that is if I have a trusted fish provider that I've made arrangements with ahead of time. In other words, they've assured me that they've quarantined and observed the fish, and in some cases put them through a regimen of meds to ensure they're parasite free and ick free, things of that nature, and then observe them for a while before sending them to me. Those kind of fish, usually I can feel confident putting directly into a main tank. But other fish, especially ones that I buy at local fish stores, I'll put them through a regimen, a hospital tank or a quarantine tank regimen. I currently have a few fish that are in quarantine or in a hospital tank, and I'll show you what's going on there, and give you an update on those fish, and even move one back to the main tank who has healed up. And at first I thought that this might be his final stop. Sometimes I'll take a fish that's gotten old and put him into a hospital quarantine tank, and it ends up being what I call their Shady Acres retirement home, which is where they end up living the last few months, sometimes a little longer, of their life, when I can tell they're getting old and beaten up. And you don't want them in a tank where other fish are going to start picking on them and ultimately sort of slowly killing them off. I'd rather just put them in another tank and let them sort of die of natural causes. But let me give you an update real quick on what's going on here with my hospital tanks, and we'll go from there. Against the back wall that you seldom see are what I call my hospital tanks, quarantine tanks. And in this middle tank here, I have an EBA, an electric blue Ochart. Was having a little bit of a hard time in the 210 gallon. Not because anybody picked on him per se, but he just started to show signs of sort of age and not really swimming or being as active as he was before. And so I put him in this tank so he can just kind of chill out. He is starting to eat, but he may just be an older fish at the end of his life. So I don't think he'll ever go back into the 210. This will be his Shady Acres retirement home. I'll keep him in clean water, enough room for him to hang out and not feel too cramped. On the far right side of these aquariums, I have a tank that is currently working as a quarantine tank. And in this tank, I have a bit of a rare fish. It's called a night goby. See him right there. Not a fish I've seen before. I was actually looking for an Empire gudgeon, but they didn't have any in stock. And the owner of the store said, I do have a fish called a night goby. So I said, okay, well, let me check him out. I thought he was cute. I went ahead and picked him up. See him back there. I don't want to startle him too much, but I have to get him a little closer here. So he'll be in this tank for about 30 days, maybe a little longer, and then he'll go into the 55-gallon planted tank. And of course, on the far left, I have this large beast of a Kawingi. And I'm keeping him a little bit dim. He does panic and bang himself against the sides and the rocks. So I don't want to brighten up the lights just yet, but I am going to scoop him out and put him into the 300-gallon. He's healed up enough now where I think he's going to be much happier in a bigger tank. He's just a giant beast of a fish. You see the size of him there. Okay, buddy, let's see how you do. All the fish in the tank are well fed, so they're not going to look at him as a potential snack. Not that they would, because he's pretty big, or at least not have that that hangry edge that they'll have sometimes when you add a fish to the tank. And the lights are out, so that's going to keep it kind of mellow for now. And of course, I'll keep a close eye on how he's doing in there and how he's recovering. He was for a while the tank boss, but the Rhodesii yellow, the Buccochromis Rhodesii yellow, pretty much knocked him off of that position. And I think that's what resulted in some of the marks he had at the bottom of his belly that infected. And so what I did is I ran him through a full week of Maricin treatment, Fritz Maricin, and then a couple weeks of observation with clean water and water changes. So while I was pulling the meds out of the aquarium with activated carbon in the filter, right? So that's after the med treatment had completed. And he healed up. He looked like he healed up. My biggest concern now was him getting startled and banging up against the walls of a small tank. So I've made the decision to go ahead and put him back into a large tank. So there we go. So there's the hospital update. Electric Blue Ochara, who is probably in shady acres. The Kiwingi back into the 300 after healing from a sore on his tummy, and a night goby in the 29-gallon, waiting for 30 days of quarantine before I add him to the 55-gallon planted aquarium. So there you go. There's the update from the hospital. From my triage hospital ER 911 section of the fish room. Thank you, my friends, for tuning in. Maybe I'll see you on Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream. Always a lot of fun. And if you like the channel, always be sure to subscribe and consider supporting the channel as a Patreon. Thank you, my friends. Bye-bye.